Hello everyone, my name is Mark Kelly. Welcome to the Northland Artists Conversation. Thank you so much for stopping by and checking us out. I am your host, your guide, your Sherpa, if you will. The person that sort of goes through and we discover the amazing creative talent we have here in Northland. And every now and then we pick up a creative person that's sort of coming into the region to do a show every now and then as well. So very, very cool. Hey, going to flick to my camera nice and quickly now. This is week 3 of our special podcast recap series. It is New Zealand Music Month, and it's the 25th anniversary of it. And this is 2025, so according to my maths, in the year 2000, the government launched an initiative to basically get more New Zealand music on the radio and on the television. So for the month of May, there would always be a big, massive increase, which for someone who was a musician sort of during that 25 years was absolutely amazing and was very, very cool. So we're focusing on the musicians. For this month. As I said, this is week 3 and super exciting. I've got my little notes here. So in this episode, we've got Blayne Paul. Now, Blayne was such a unique individual. He came to the 2-year anniversary of Northland Artists Conversation, and he opened it up, and his voice was unlike anything a lot of people had heard before. It was just him, an acoustic guitar, and it was just haunting. Absolutely beautiful. And he is such a deep person, a deep individual. And we've got Kenny Ruddell. And Kenny is, he's a videographer, but he's also sort of started dabbling into music as well. We catch up with him a little bit around that too, which is very cool. We've also got Pete O'Neill. Pete is an amazing guitarist, sort of very much your rock or your jazz trio and that sort of stuff. Bit of the, mainly the electric side of things. And then we've got Rachel Diamond. Now, Rachel's story is very unique. I say a former model. I'm sure she still does it, but she started off being really into music and then sort of fell into modeling and then has found her way back to music, which is unbelievably cool. So wicked. Rachel does a lot of shows around Northland and is very, very cool. So this is an opportunity to celebrate these particular artists and sort of talk about their time within Northland as a musician, or what they've got going on, or what they've had as well. Just some of their experiences with New Zealand music, and also reaching abroad as well. So I'm going to just shut up now. Let's enjoy week 3 of the Northland Artists Conversation, celebrating the 25th anniversary of New Zealand Music Month.
Right then, as every teenage boy, I guess, I'm at the stage where I'm probably screaming at the wall with the guitar, making more noise than sense. But
Right.
Yeah,
I did that.
Yeah. With a dictaphone, so I could listen to it again. How embarrassing!
So, dude, at least you had a way to record. I had to hotwire mum and dad's old stereo with my little piddly 2-cassette small boom box, and then wire it up just to get decent sound.
Well, see, that sort of creative process. It made music at the time more relatable. Like P-Money.
Yes.
And Scribe there. Wow. 2001. Because New Zealand hip hop just booted the door down.
Yeah, we did.
In such a way that it was crazy. But creative process like that, hearing the origins of bands like Niche and Mystic, they did their whole first album on Music 2000 on PlayStation 1.
Yep.
That I thought was absolute genius.
That's inspiring too.
Genius.
Yeah.
So I mean, that's where that all happened to me. Walking out of school, walking into what I hope was going to be a massive career in hospitality, and hospitality came a lot later. I did that anyway.
Yeah.
But I hoped it would start really early. Okay. But I was too young for any of the qualifications involved, so they asked me to sit in performing arts, and I suppose the whole dream being crushed, being the Navy chef, whatever, just got crushed. So I thought, fuck it, I'll put all my creativity into actual words and see if anybody will listen.
And how did you go?
Terribly well.
Yeah?
Terribly well. There are a lot of people all over this country, whangareta and Invercargill, who would tell me that everything I've done with my life and my CV would make people's heads spin. I have to make industry-specific CVs so the bastard's not too long. I really do, man.
You know what? There are worse problems to have.
And honestly, there's a lot of people all over this country that would say you have been wasting your truest gift. And they know furniture removals, scaffolding, computer technicians, all sorts of things I've done all over this country, and they would all tell you, you are doing the wrong job.
Okay.
You've got the wrong, you're using the wrong gift. What are you doing? Because as a furniture removalist, you get bored as shit if there's no music. And if there's no music, you'll make the music.
Yep.
And then, you know, you make enough. Stan Walker was at a Pack and Save or something like that.
Yes.
When he was singing and was discovered.
Yeah, before he did New Zealand Idol, yeah.
You know, and I don't know, I just sang anyway. And people everywhere, clients, co-workers, bosses, what are you doing? Just go throw all that energy into the recording studio and never did it.
Why do you think that is?
Well, I mean, I did do it a couple times. My name, you punch my name into SoundCloud, there is one song on there. It's called Crooked Thoughts.
Okay.
I wrote it when I don't even know how young, embarrassingly so anyway.
Yeah.
And it's just me. It's nothing fancy. It's just me and a guitar missing the bottom string and about as many tracks as I could lay on top of it as I possibly could.
Yeah.
And even that turns heads. You know,
wow.
Even that goes, where did you get those lyrics from? You know, what hurt you that much? And the truth was, I was stoned.
Okay, right, yep.
You know, and hurting a lot.
Yeah.
But music has always been the greatest outlet for me. I'm a drummer. I'm gonna go bash some shit. You know.
Yes.
But that again to me was just noise. If I was just grabbing sticks and whacking shit. So what I would do is make as much ground shaking, rattling sense as possible with words, and hit them that way.
Yeah. That's wow, man. So you did the one track yourself with the multi-layer guitars in your lyrics. Have you collaborated with other people?
Oh man, the amount of people who would probably listen to this race up here just to beat me up. Yeah, like in South Auckland, there's a group called the Lazy Boys from Mangere. It's a beautiful play on words, and they are a beautiful bunch of performers. Are very talented.
Yeah.
And they've been doing it since they were in school, and I'm the baby.
Yeah.
And very lyrical, very, very musical boys. They can all rap, they can all sing, they're all skaters, they can all break dance. They're real South Auckland hip-hop artists. And then here in Whangarei, there's plenty. I mean, my late brother, for example, the Double R, they called him. He was a monster when it came to hip-hop.
Yeah.
When I met him, we before we were close, he really, really wanted to make a musical impact.
Okay.
But he was afraid of his abilities vocally. He didn't believe he was a very good singer. But he was better than he thought. That's for real. He really was. And then I went to Christchurch. I did a furniture removal thing, and I met a group of people down there who should have been a band, man. Like, some of these dudes were incredibly talented. the Aranui a lot, where Scribe is from. He's not joking. You go hang out in those streets. If you survive, you are going, that's no joke whatsoever. If you survive where Scribe is from, you are going to be hit with the inspiration stick.
Yeah. Far out, man. So how long were you in Christchurch for?
Well, I don't know, 2 years.
Okay.
2 years down there, and musically, man, it was crazy. I met 12-year-olds who played saxophones like they were with Miles Davis.
Wow.
They were nuts. Freestylers who made, people like Slick Rick sound silly. And Slick Rick was the king, Rick the ruler. And they made him sound silly. They really did.
Far out.
But nobody knows these cats.
Yeah.
Unless somebody like Andy Making Yourself does something like this with them, nobody will.
Well, that's what we're here to do, man. We're here to highlight every artist that takes time out of their life to come in and sit down, and this is awesome.
This is fun.
This is fun, dude. I'm thoroughly enjoying this. So, after you finished up in Christchurch, would you say that those 2 years were quite formative or important for you?
Oh yeah, some of the best people I met in my entire life.
Yeah,
are the people who call me family in Christchurch. I came home, Whangarei, South Auckland, far north. When I came home, it was for very, very sad, but quite guiltily so, very inspirational reasons. I came home to bury people that meant a lot to me, and it hasn't stopped. It generally doesn't, but it hasn't stopped.
Yeah.
And creatively, you either take a hit, or you take a hit with the inspiration stick. You've got a choice.
Yeah. Oh, you do.
Yeah. I don't know. It stopped me from producing as many songs. I used to write 3 or 4 of them a week.
Wow.
For different reasons. During, I think, 2012, 2013, probably both of those years, actually, I was doing a lot creatively. For a lot of different organizations, the One and All Aotearoa, myself, the Ratana Church. I'm not a Ratana.
Yeah.
But I helped them write a play and a song.
Far out.
Did a lot for a lot of people who were cringing that I don't have a guitar in my hand, now singing instead of talking. Then I came home and stopped writing songs.
Yeah.
But went back over all the other ones and just genetically modified them.
Yeah.
They're monsters now.
You mentioned 15 years. What's the significance of 15 years?
Personally, for me, all the best music I ever made happened either in my garage or a garage in South Auckland.
Yeah.
And over that particular 15-year period, because it was 15 years, I would have met and built some strong relationships with some very talented individuals.
Yeah.
And one of the most hurtful memories is Double R, because like I said, when I disappeared, he wanted to be a vocalist and a lyricist. When I came back, he was Double R from Naughty North Movement.
Wow.
He was that monster you hoped was going to be on the stage.
Yeah.
Because he was like going to a freak show circus. You went wanting to be scared, and you left terrified.
Wow.
That was him. He was the big man, the big DMX.
Yeah.
Shit.
It was
Okay.
hard to follow.
He really
Okay. Yeah.
And that's what he was when I came home.
Yeah.
I disappeared for Christchurch and South Auckland, came home, and my brother had evolved into this no longer pocket monster. He was not shy. He wasn't afraid of his voice. He was using it.
Yeah.
And during the years where he was not using it, we wrote a lot of good shit, screenplays even. And because he would disappear and then I was left alone. I did nothing. And then I did the same thing to him.
Yeah.
15 years later, we lost him and everything we were working on. So...
Is there someone else that you've sort of connected with that's been able to give you that same energy?
Same? No.
So, literally a one-off dude.
That's Muddy Waters and Little Walter, man.
Yeah.
That's John Lennon and Paul McCartney.
Yeah, okay. So it's really like generational, like once in a lifetime type stuff.
Oh yeah, but I mean, you'll get that with every individual anyway. You know, once you lose them, you realize you've lost it.
Yeah.
Like it's that sound, that energy, that thread. We were the Double R, myself, and another Whangarei artist by the name of MC Blacks or Brother Trey. We were going to start a group working with a producer named Buddha Sticks from Team Music and Hua Productions. And that group was called Tapestry, spelled Tap History. And
oh, wow. That's a great play on words.
And we were really, really going to rock it. We really were. We done one song with Buddha Sticks called Us Survivors. And I think he might have misplaced it.
Oh, no, man.
And we didn't really get to finish it anyway.
Yeah.
And it was the only documented recording of both of us on the same track.
Wow. So, I mean, that track obviously has a lot of deep significance.
Yeah, it really did.
Yeah.
It was called Us Survivors. You know, that's not a play on words. We've all survived something.
Yeah.
And then he didn't, you know. So it's one of those tracks where if I could finish that and everything else we worked on, I probably would. Yeah. If I have anything coming up, it's the album I should have done for 15 years.
So let's talk about that, because obviously the loss of Double R, you know, does that sort of stop you creatively, or do you sort of start trying to move through it and use that to kind of drive your next stage?
It's, I don't know, I suppose it's like breaking a finger. You know, you'll learn how to play the guitar again.
Yeah.
But you'll get it again.
Yeah.
But no, it didn't stop me creatively. As a matter of fact, it's the reason I came. It's the reason I decided creative block it has taken its toll too long.
Yeah.
It's taken its toll too long. I've stopped too much of what I actually am.
So now you've got that fire.
Yeah.
That fire back. And
it's burning, brother. It really is. It's burning. Because the dreams don't stop. I'm sitting there, I'm watching a concert in my dream, and it's my brother and me. And, you know, that is never going to happen. But it doesn't have to not happen either.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. You know, and that can live on in your dreams as well.
It absolutely will. I mean, the music, the covers and the originals that we were gonna do were fire, man. I will punch those songs out, because some of my originals were actually his favorite songs, and some of his were actually mine.
Wow.
And neither of them have been released.
Yeah. So then what does your next steps look like? Where do you go from here?
Well, I have been pen to paper, and I have been writing all sorts of shit, man. Plays,
cool,
comic books, that album.
Yep.
I have literally just dug up out of boxes in the garage. I've pulled those books out and just gone, I'm going to attack them.
Yeah, nice. Yeah. That's wicked.
I'm going to attack them.
Very cool.
Mostly to get these people off my back. Why aren't you doing any music?
I'd written since like before high school, and I used to.
Oh, wow.
I used to just write just for fun,
yeah.
or write story, like random little stories, you know, as a kid and stuff.
Yeah,
and I guess that kind of creativity kind of got like downtrodden on in high school, because high school was very rigid. The NCA system doesn't, like, they have NCA credits for creative writing, and I remember that being the most bullshit thing. It should have been something that I was excelling at, and it was something that I did poorly at. So school really messed with my head in that sense, and so a lot of anger came out, and a lot of it was stuff that I look back on it now. Now that I've sort of put together some music, I look back on it and go, man, that's where it started from. And it took 5 years of writing, I'd say.
Wow.
Of trying different things and writing different, just spewing a lot of introspective stuff out. Because it was a lot of anger. A lot of anger that then turned into I guess sorrow, and then it turned into things that were a little bit more hopeful, but also, like, I guess, I don't know what the word is, maybe peculiar. Started thinking about, outside the square, or I don't know, like, how to describe it, other than, hey, or you could listen to what I've written so far, or to maybe get an idea. But always had been like a strong influence from hip hop and stuff like that, and worked with OBC based in Whangarei, which for years and years, which became a big influence. Slant Eyes was a rapper that really
phenomenal.
Phenomenal writing and delivery, everything. Like, he's just, his skill sets and stuff was amazing, and that really inspired me to. I was like, man, if this dude from Whangarei can do it too, then
definitely,
I'm gonna give it a crack as well. And then my mate Bubba Herks basically pushed me to do it. And then Jake, when I was living in Auckland and I was going through this sort of downward spiral. Yeah,
you're going through this dark period
of my 20s, and I met Jacob Toms. Now, his father was the bass player of Herbs.
Oh my God, yes.
And so I would spend a lot of Friday nights at his place, and it was so much better to be able to talk and communicate with someone, because I was away from home as well. I was away from my friends and family. And he was a huge help, because he was playing in a band called Roof Dog, which was ska. They did a lot of ska. Him and his mate actually did Scarfest in Auckland for many years.
I remember Scarfest. Yeah, that's crazy.
And OVC actually did a gig at Scarfest. We got invited to.
Of course
go,
they did.
And that actually turned out all right. So we were a bit nervous about it, but it actually turned out all right. But so Jacob Toms was another huge influence, and Bubba Herks from back in Whangarei. Really, those two pushed me to, hey, you need to give this a crack.
Okay.
Like, give it a go. Like, because you've got a lot to say, and it's like I said earlier, it's a creative outlet for you, not anyone else. And a lot of my work, I was working for someone else. I was working on other people's dreams. I was working on other people's stories, other people's experiences, capturing their moments. Whereas I wanted to capture mine. So,
How frustrating was that? As someone who has the, that creative desire to just let shit rip all the time and have a big creative scream where essentially at the end of the day you're like, yes, boss, no, boss. Yes, boss, I'll make those cuts, boss. How hard was that? Because essentially, I mean, majority of us, we all have that, right? We all have someone that we're responsible to. We're beholden to someone. I'm responsible to my boss. My boss is responsible to someone else. But as a creative, how tough was that for you? Because you're probably, and I'm guessing, in your head, were you at a point where you were going, man, I'm in the industry. I'm working with good gear, great people. I'm able to do shit, and are you in a position where you can go, well, I'm going to do some drifting filming for this upcoming comp, and I'm going to edit it in a way that's really different from what we've done before, and that's me expressing myself creatively. And then your boss going, no, here's the formula. Let's stick to it. Was it that way for you? Or when you kind of came out the other side where you're like, I am beholden to no one. I will create however I want.
I was lucky enough predominantly to have full control over a lot of things.
Yeah.
That I worked on. But there were some contracted jobs where you go, what the fuck is this dude on about?
Right.
You know,
Okay,
and you go, this is fucking wrong. Like, no one's going to watch this.
Yeah.
Or I wouldn't do it like that.
Yeah.
You know, I wouldn't do it like that. You know, and they've got no experience in what I do.
Yeah, sure.
But they're trying to tell me how to do it.
Yeah.
And, you know, those moments really, really fuck you off. They fuck you off. And there are moments where you just go, fuck it, click, 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 and you whack this bullshit thing together.
Yeah.
And you charge them a ridiculous amount because you're like, fuck you. And
Yeah.
that's
Here's
and
the,
then, and
here's
then
the
your
asshole
chances are-
fee.
and yeah, the ass, it pretty much is. And you go, fuck, I'm not working for that guy again. You know,
Yeah,
because fuck it.
Yeah.
It's too ho-ha, it's too bullshit. I'm not cut out for that. Like, you know, if someone else wants to take that job, I really don't give a fuck.
Yeah.
You know, and that attitude sort of kept growing because I started finding brick walls creatively.
You're almost putting those brick walls up yourself,
Yes,
right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And yeah, I just got over it.
Yeah.
I got over it. And yeah, so that's where Oversteer TV sort of started getting more into distribution and stuff like that.
Right, okay.
Still makes really cool stuff, but at the same time, it's got like a company like that. It's got to make money, and we're only a small country, so you know it's like you've really got to work a lot of things. But funny that you say that but at the same time, like the opportunities were there for me to network with a lot of different people.
Yeah, definitely.
And the different contractors that we were working with were also, funnily enough, had creative things going on.
Absolutely.
And yeah, so you get talking and suddenly, I know this guy. Oh, he can help me out with this. Or this dude can hire me this. Or he'll loan me this. Or might be some gear, might be a camera, or it might be lighting, or, whatever it was. And suddenly we all just started working together on projects that we knew we could, that we all knew that we could click together on, make some money, and walk away feeling like we didn't have our creativity like fully stripped from us.
Yeah.
There were moments where you go, oh man, that was a hard job.
Yeah.
But you go, you know what? They still gave us the opportunity to come and do it our way, and we appreciated that.
Yeah. It's funny. I remember there's a really good quote from Steve Jobs. Rest in peace. I don't hire smart people so I can tell them what to do. I hire smart people so they can tell me what I need to fix.
Yeah.
And it's like, yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Definitely. That's how creativity should be, right?
That's right.
When I started this podcast with producer Andrew, I didn't know diddly squat about a lot of what I was doing, and I just made shit up as I went along. But I knew that if I got people behind me that wanted to learn and develop and grow, that they would do that. So then they could tell me, we need this and we need that and we need this. So that was super handy, and anyone that's kind of, we've sort of worked with along the way, you get to go, yes, so I value you because of the experience and the knowledge that you bring. I'm not going to tell you how to suck eggs, because let's be honest, I don't always know.
Yeah.
I might have a fair idea. I might be able to convey my concept across to you. You can then take it and evolve it and then show it to me. And I go, yeah, that's perfect. That works really well.
Yeah.
And that's the spirit of collaboration in creativity, right?
Yeah.
So you're in Auckland, you've had your, we'll call it Picasso's blue period, or Van Gogh's blue period, and you've come out the other side. You've had your spiritual enlightenment and awakening. What does life look like for you now creatively? And do you sort of have to go, well, I work part-time creatively, I also have a part-time job doing this shit which doesn't fulfill me, but blah, blah, blah.
It became very much, finding a balance between, okay, I can work 3 days a week, and then 2 days a week I'm fully focused on what I'm doing artistically or creatively, and then on the weekends it's sort of a bonus, and or whatever other life throws at you. But at the time, my living situation wasn't working out. I ended a relationship of 9 years. Things weren't working out, and it was sort of mutual. I part of that spiritual journey saw me leave that relationship and moved back in with my parents, I luckily scored a 7-meter cabin. This is just like right on COVID and shit was happening.
Oh shit! So this is recent.
Yeah, and I was like, I had no money and fucking.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah,
so as you know, obviously as
I like crawled myself out of a hole, but
yeah,
I knew that I have to strike iron while it's hot, kind of thing. And so I ended up moving into a cabin and setting up a bit of a home studio.
Right.
And yeah, so that's what we've been doing. And I started making music on the weekends.
Okay,
and on
cool.
Friday nights, and became a sort of a regular thing. And it became a thing for me to like breathe, basically.
Yeah, yeah.
At the end of the day. But yeah, luckily enough, I managed to get a job. So our family runs a honey beekeeping business. So I picked up some jobs there.
Nice.
And I do
marketing?
Marketing and hands-on.
Oh,
Go and
wow, cool.
Work the hives and
The
lot of physical work.
Is it apiculture?
I don't even know what it's called.
I think that's
Apiculture, apiaries, yeah,
apiaries.
I suppose. Yeah,
I think, yeah.
We just call it beekeeping. But.
Yeah. I was trying to sound intelligent there for just a second. And
I
use
think
the,
that is.
use
I
the
think-
technical term.
Yeah.
No laughing in the cheap
They,
seats.
they call it an apiary, but that sounds, I don't know, like birds or something. I don't know. To me,
Apes.
words are funny. English is funny.
English is a great language. Where, and where?
So I managed to get some work, get some jobs, and mostly minimum wage. Because we're also trying to grow that business and try to do things. But I don't know.
Do you find that having more of that work-life balance kind of offers you a lot more freedom to be able to create and create your way?
Yes. Yeah. And have control over, when you want to give up.
Yeah.
I think I struggled. I didn't really get a day job when I left school or anything like that.
Right.
Because it all unfolded with what I had.
Yeah.
So I was lucky in that sense. But then when it became to the point where I need to make some money here and there, I started getting into the odd job handyman thing. I can weld. I can do grinding.
Okay.
So there's a bit of fabrication work.
Yeah.
Quite a few we do shutdowns for meat
timber
works,
mills and
meatworks and stuff
meatworks,
like that. So we go in and fix all the broken machinery, and we even made a song out of like a vacuum packing machine for our meatworks, and that became the beat. We made a song out of it. Actually, it was one of my first beats that I sort of made.
And where does
Bubba
one
Hicks sort of
find
helped
this
me.
song?
That one's actually called Valhalla. So that's on
Valhalla?
Yeah, so that's on Operation Rescript, which is on Spotify and stuff like that. It's on YouTube.
Now, what is your...
I prefer people go on YouTube because there's a lot of visuals that go with it.
Yeah.
So there's a bit of artwork that goes with it.
So if anyone, if I was to, at the end of this podcast, go look on YouTube, what am I looking at?
Look up Sticky Operation Rescript.
Operation Rescript?
Yeah, and Operation Rescript became the name of what was really just going to be an EP or like just a handful of songs.
Okay.
And then through COVID and more writing, I realized, this is a whole body of work that's kind of conceptual. So I thought,
Brilliant.
Go for an album.
Yes.
And yeah, luckily I had the support from Bubba Hicks to sort of produce it.
Yeah.
I managed to make my first 2 songs myself, and he did the rest of the beat making, and a bit of guidance, teaching me a few things. And yeah, so that became a bit of a creative outlet for me to put together. So yeah, Operation Rescript is the name of the album.
Yep,
which
cool.
is sort of a personal anecdote, I guess. I'm rescripting my life. But it's also it's also the military operation name for COVID-19 in the UK, which is quite...
Is it really?
Quite odd, yes. And then...
Operation Rescript.
Yeah, right on the Queen passing away. And
Gee whiz, that's a
it's
bit on the nose.
Bit on the nose for a military operation document.
I know.
And it's quite clear.
Wow.
Yeah.
I mean, why don't they just call it something along the lines of... Operation Live the Lie, Operation Spread Disinformation.
Yeah,
I'm not going to get into this because
that's a whole nother subject.
It's a big topic.
You could talk for hours about it.
We could be here for quite a while. So, I mean, what have you got? Have you got anything coming out? Is there stuff that people can look for, or be prepared to?
We've got a bit of a spread. So we're on all the main social media channels, Spotify, Facebook, YouTube, all the Apple stuff. So we've basically done a shotgun blast and gone, hey, here it all is.
Yep.
Slowly started putting visualizers and stuff out to sort of aid that. But the next step is to go into music videos. So I've got 2 or 3 music videos in mind that I'd really like to put together.
Yep.
And so, our first music video will be coming out sort of in the next couple of months, hopefully.
Very cool.
And that will be quite an achievement for myself, I think. And something that I'm really looking forward to, because I like making stuff like that. I've done quite a bit of music sort of video stuff in the past, but I want to do something that's mine, basically.
Yeah. Well, it'll be interesting because you'll have almost in creative control over the whole process because it's your music. And I'm guessing even though if you star in your music video, you'll shoot that shit yourself, right? So essentially you're kind of walking it through from inception through to, I guess, full completion.
Yeah. I guess it'll be a little bit of storyboarding too. Or I'm not much of a storyboarder, actually.
No,
a lot of the work that I've put together, but jotting down some of the visuals and going through some of the process of what the scenes are going to look like.
Yeah.
That will be the base setting, and then culminating all the different ideas, put those ideas down and then sort of culminate them together with the different cuts and the different scenes that you want to put together. And I'm a pretty strong video editor myself. Bub Hertz is too. He's done quite a bit now. But being able to play with all the different stuff as an editor is quite, and if you're editing and directing, it's primo.
Yeah, it is.
You have complete control of how it is gonna look.
Yeah.
And it's rewarding. It's rewarding when you put some late nights in. I'm a bit of a night owl, so I'll stay up late and tinker and tattoo and
If you had to compare your directing and video style to someone, who would you compare it to? That our audience might be aware of, like Spielberg or Fincher or David Lynch or.
I don't know. As a kid, I was sort of a Peter Jackson fan.
Yes.
But especially some of his like culty earlier stuff is weird. Like
Meet the Feebles.
I was like, crazy. I don't know if you can compare. He would have been an influence. I don't know, Tarantino.
Yes.
I guess.
Yeah, very cool.
But I don't really have much to compare to, I guess.
Yeah.
At this stage.
For now.
Yeah.
Who knows what will happen in like 5 or 10 years.
There's a lot more creative flair that needs to come back out.
Very cool.
Apart from the classic sort of Neil Diamond, I got a big dose of Neil Diamond when I was a kid. But Dad would bring home Beatles albums, and there was classical music and jazz. He liked jazz and stuff like that. So all sorts of different stuff. And like to this day, I love all sorts of different music. Like for me, music is like if I hear music, there's something about it. Puts me in another space,
So you're obviously exposed to quite a wide range of music from Mum and Dad.
Yeah, I would say, fairly, nothing too outrageous. But then also remember, like this is in the days of, I think, was it 1ZB, the radio station?
I remember 1ZB.
Was it 1ZB?
I remember
Was it Merv Smith? 1ZB, and you'd hear songs by Petula Clark and all that big band stuff, and all that sort of stuff. It was produced out of Britain, Lulu, and all those sort of Tom Jones and Engelbert and all those sort of things.
Met Lulu.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah, she's a lovely lady. She's very short, but was an absolute sweetheart when I met her quite a few years ago. She's very cool.
Yeah, right.
So you're obviously discovering all of these artists through records and on the radio.
Yeah, I don't know about discovering, but I was hearing it, I was just hearing everything, and, I loved it, it's sort of, and then of course, what happens, I had older siblings, I've got 2 older brothers and an older sister and a younger brother, but of course my older brothers went off to uni and teachers college, and so did my sister, and, as they came back, they were bringing back, well, even when they were at secondary school and stuff like that, I was listening to the stuff. at primary school
they were
listening
to,
to at secondary school. So I got an early into Deep Purple and Led Zeppelin and that 70s rock, Bachman Turner Overdrive, that sort of thing, you know. So and that's what really sort of got me, this is for me, you know.
Yeah.
So I think it was Led Zeppelin, you know. Led Zeppelin for me was
Are they sort of considered like the flagship band for you?
Yeah, I don't know, like, but it was sort of kind of, I don't know, it was like listening to, I remember, I think when I wrote in my notes, I think one of my first really sort of musical experiences that I remember thinking, what the you know, is this? There's hearing the song Since I've Been Loving You by Led Zeppelin, and like not really, I didn't know what blues was or anything like that, but I'd heard it and I just it was an electric feeling, you know, of this is for me. I'm not, you know, and so that's when I got into really like the idea of playing guitar. And
so that was the song that prompted you to pick up the instrument.
Yeah, that was basically it.
Wow.
I'd always, like when I was a kid, I had a ukulele, and when I, you know, like there was always like I had a cousin out on the farm that had a guitar with like 3 strings that I'd pick up and muck around on, and that sort of thing, you know. But hearing that song, that was kind of what really sparked it, thinking, and then finding out about Jimmy Page and other guys, and that's when I really, you know, Hendrix and stuff like that, and then that's when I really sort of got the bug, and then it was cool because there was some other guys at school that were into it as well, and we'd sort of get together and...
Far out. That's cool though.
But even back then, just finding a guitar with that was playable kind of was a bit of a mission, you know?
Yeah, well that's the gold mine.
Yeah. You know, a friend of mine makes me laugh. He says, you know, we had these guitars that were the action was so high off the neck. You know, you had to have a black belt in karate to be able to play it. You know, and that makes me laugh because it's kind of what it was like. But you know, you get there. And, you know, like, of course, there was no, like, if I want to learn something now, I go to YouTube and there's 15 different guys to show me how to play, sort of. There was none of that.
Yeah, no.
So, you know, interesting. Yeah, very different. But...
It's funny. I read a meme on Facebook, it'd be a couple of days ago, and it was, kids don't know how good they've got it nowadays. Back in my day, we had to guess the lyrics. We were singing that shit wrong for years. And I was just
That's right. Peter Kay does a very funny skit of. Have you seen it? Yeah, he does. You know, it's just classic, isn't it? You know,
absolutely brilliant.
Yeah.
There's been and there's been a few other comedians along the way that have kind of built comedy around music. There's
plenty to laugh at, isn't there?
Yeah, there is. I think of there's a Australian trio called the Axis of Awesome.
Oh yeah, I haven't heard of them, but
they do a comedy piece called the 4 Chord Song.
Yeah, right.
And they literally take the same 4 chords and they throw all of these popular songs over the top of it. It's genuinely funny because then they start blending like James Blunt with Rihanna and Coldplay, and it's just it's absolutely hilarious.
Yeah.
So yes, I could imagine picking up an instrument and trying to play along would have been a lot more challenging than what it is now.
Yeah, it was. Yeah. Well, of course it was. I mean, you forget over the years as you play so much, you know, like now at home, I've got a guitar at hand, you know, and I'll just sit there while I'm watching TV sort of thing, and it's so familiar. But of course, when you start, it's a world of unfamiliar. It is. It's a world of mystery and sort of, I don't know. It was always a sort of a bit of an aura about it almost, or probably because it wasn't around so much, you know, and it was a bit harder to get your hands on a guitar, a decent guitar. Some people to me in Darwin were very kind to me when I first started out, and let me borrow quite good instruments and stuff like that. And there's a couple of guys over there that were really gave me good advice too, and stuff like that, you know, and helped me. One particular guy he was a bit older than me, like he was in his early 20s, and I was about sort of 14 or 15, and he'd get me around his place and we'd have a jam and stuff like that. And you sort of, you know, those guys actually had quite a lot of influence on on what I did, you know.
Oh, yeah,
and,
definitely.
You know, like, yeah, so I was quite lucky like that, you know, like, I don't know, maybe maybe there was a bit more of that around. Maybe not. But,
excuse me, yeah.
but yeah, no, and I still think of those guys these days, you know, like, that,
Oh, yeah.
you know, guys that had good bands over there, and so, because quite a rocking scene. A guy I know, he's in his 70s now, but he was telling me, you know, like back in the day around Dargaville, they could work like 5 or 6 nights a week playing.
Wow.
Yeah, like no trouble. They were doing the sort of, that's when the Beatles first came out
Yep.
and all that sort of stuff, and they were doing like bowling club socials and football clubs and squash
Yep.
clubs and
Yep.
this group, and that's what people did. They had live entertainment and danced, and
Yep, they did.
you know, so
They absolutely did.
so yeah, they worked a lot, and so you know, it was quite a good little scene like that, and good, I was quite lucky to grow up like that, you know, and it was a good place to grow up too, Dargaville, you know.
Yeah, sounds still a lovely place too.
Yeah, no, it is actually, it's a really good place. It's interesting. It's very conservative, and in some ways that holds it back. But the people there are absolutely the salt of the earth, you know.
They are, 100% they are.
And you'll never die wondering, or you know, they'll tell you what they think, you know.
Yeah, well,
which is
yeah.
great, you know.
Yeah.
It's you know.
Like, it's not afraid to call a spade a spade.
Yeah, no, that's right, and
Yeah.
you know, like we probably need a bit more of that at the moment, you know.
Tell me about your first band. So you've started practicing as your first band in high school.
How long have you got?
Wow, I mean, you know, because to me, every musicians, everyone's first band, is it can either be that moment where you're like, this is amazing, I'm going to continue doing this, or this was the biggest bunch of arse ever, and I've seen people just go and just step away from music because of it.
The first real proper band I was in, where I say I got my first proper professional residency, was in Western Australia, because when I was about 23 or 24, something
Right.
like
Okay.
that.
Yep.
And that was like I left New Zealand when I was about 20, and I went to Melbourne. I lived there for about 8 months, and then I went across the Nullarbor with a friend of mine, and we drove across the Nullarbor and went to Perth, and that was in 1986 when the America's Cup was there.
That's a big drive.
Yeah, it is a big drive, and it was really interesting too. But it was a really interesting thing to do, actually, a big change of culture, you know, because there's a big difference in culture between Australia and especially the north of New Zealand, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, so I ended up in Perth in '86, and then I was there for a couple of years, and I got really serious about playing at one stage, and decided, yeah, I was going to have a real crack at it. So I ended up getting some decent gear, and we got some guys together. I met a friend through some friends that played bass, and you know how it goes. And then this other guy I knew, he knew this guy that played drums. But that was the first sort of professional band I was in, and we got our first kind of residency. There used to be in a very rock and roll way, it's burnt to the ground now, but there used to be a pub in Maylands, a suburb just out of the city. There used to be this pub in Maylands called the Cascades Tavern, and it was kind of a casino, TAB, food hall, and entertainment centre, like a kind of little mini casino. And it was called Cascades Tavern because when you walked in the door, there was like a fountain that cascaded down these rocks.
Of course there was.
And it was classy.
It sounds classy.
But it was a great setup. It was a great way to learn, because we'd get these residencies. We'd get like 6 Friday nights in a row, and then you'd bugger off.
Yeah.
Go around the outskirts of Perth, playing in all the little pubs and stuff like that, till the next residency came up. But they had this great car park out the back. You could drive and roll up the roller door.
Literally load the gear.
Load the gear in on stage. It's at showtime. The curtains open. Away you went.
Yeah.
And that was kind of my introduction to playing live, which sort of stood me in good stead in a way, because it was a great way to put on a show, and they encouraged you there. They didn't encourage you to go out and mingle with the audience, and you had your space backstage, and they'd bring you what your drinks or whatever you wanted, sort of thing.
Yep.
And it was a show, you know. So and that was and we'd do we'd do 4 45-minute sets a night. So you play, it was brutal.
That's
and like, you know, I can remember doing a Friday night. We did a New Year's Eve there. One New Year's Eve we did a New Year's Eve night there, and it had been 44 degrees during the day. I think the overnight low was about 30. And that was a pretty brutal night because it was a very small stage and lights just above your head, and that was the old par cans, you know.
The big one, yeah. And they were just you're not dimming them; they're either off or they're on.
Yeah, that's right. So that was and interestingly, that was a very but it was a great place to play because it was the punters were all in, curtain opened, show was on, and it was good fun, and it was a really great way to start. But of course that band ended up having its issues, and
they all do at some point.
Yeah, well, no, it was it was pretty crazy, and that was my I don't know if I should tell the story, but the lead singer, unfortunately, I won't name names, but he was a nice guy, but he had some problems, and it turned out after sort of 6 months or so together, he ended up. I had this friend who was a friend of a friend she was an ex-model, very good-looking lady, and her and him ended up getting together.
Okay,
and it was a situation where you got two people together that were just the perfectly wrong chemistry for each other.
Oh, right.
And then the craziness really began.
Yeah.
And so that was my introduction to rock and roll. And
two people that are both, have both got crazy on the radar. Come together and the crazy amplified.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, the crazy becomes greater than the sum of its parts.
Exactly. It's like crazy squared.
Yeah. So that's exactly what happened. So that was my first band I was in. So, but I managed to survive it, and no one ended up getting hurt, and a few other crazy things happened with that band as well, but
yeah. Well, I mean, I lived in Auckland for 7 years, and I toured New Zealand. I think a lot of when did I join? I joined when I was 32. So all of my crazy days, the younger days, and we can talk about this, because it's when you're in your
full flush of youth,
early 20s, so to speak. It's you can fall quite easily into the drugs and alcohol.
Oh, absolutely.
And that is kind of one of those things that sort of that can happen. And when we were certainly touring, we certainly saw that with quite a few of the younger bands.
Yeah.
So you've had your first band, you've had your first big solid experience, you're getting these residencies, band falls apart. Where do you go from that point onwards?
Well, what happened kind of was it didn't kind of end up as band falls apart. What kind of happened was one person would drop off, and then we'd pick someone else up, and then something else would happen, and then someone else would come in, and it ended up in a stage where I ended up sort of managing that band for about 5 years.
Oh, wow.
And it ended, what happened was that the lead singer thing happened, and then the drummer thing happened, and then
it's always the drummers.
Oh yeah, but and then there was a few incarnations, and there's a few other things going on in the meantime. Like I played in a few original bands and bits and pieces, and I did some studying over there when I did some. I went kind of back to school in a way, and I also did a music course and did some other things over there. So over a sort of 10-year period, that first sort of 5 years, I kind of built that band up.
Yeah.
And then that sort of did fall away a bit, and then I ended up sort of working in various bands and doing various stuff here and there. And then for about the last 5 years or so that I was over there, I got this other band together with the original bass player that had been in this band.
Oh, from right at
the beginning.
Yeah, sure.
And then him and me got together with this very good drummer and good bass player. Good singer, and we that band stuck together for quite a few years.
Yeah.
And and that was quite a good thing too. So so we ticked that along, and so it was one of those things that was, the band didn't sort of
the band didn't end, but you're having kind of that natural attrition where people will come in and come out, based on their life.
Interestingly, over there, which I've found not quite so much here. I don't know whether it's location or what, but there was a very good scene over there, eh? There was a few people over there. There was a guy called Rick Steele. I don't know if Rick's still around over there at the moment, but he was he ran the blues club out of a place called the Charles Hotel, which was a big hotel, and you'd go there on a Tuesday night was club night, and there'd be heaps and heaps of people there, man. It was full on, and so we'd do the odd gig there at the Charles and stuff like that, but there was lots of musicians there, so you met people. So even though it was competitive to get into gigs and you had to hustle for gigs and stuff like that, but guys would help you out. Like we had this friend Gary Davis, and he'd, like, if our lead singer couldn't make a gig, he would come and slot in, and we'd do some of his stuff and some of our stuff, and so it was quite a good collegiate kind of way of working, eh? If you got in with the right people, and people would invite you to come and do parts of their shows and stuff like that. And
you've made the choice, you're coming back to New Zealand, you're back here in 99, just before the millennium. Are you diving straight back into music? Are you going, I'll get a job? Where's your sort of head at that point?
When I first came back, I was still sort of drinking, eh? So, and I jumped straight kind of back into it. When I first came back, I met these guys, and one of them, unfortunately, is no longer with us. But they were quite good guys, and they had this sort of thing going. So I ended up playing guitar with them for a while. Yeah. And then I was in another band that actually used to go and do the Jazz and Blues Festival up at the Bay of Islands.
Oh, right. Yeah, that's a great festival.
Yeah. And I haven't been for a long time. I actually met my wife there. That's how I met my wife.
Wow.
So I was doing that, and then when it actually came crunch time to actually stop drinking, I did actually stop for a couple of years. I kind of stopped with the bands, and what I also did was my playing had got very sort of stale and I was in a rut basically,
uninspired.
Okay, and just going through the motions. And so what I decided to do was I put down the guitar for a little while, and I decided to actually study music and do some music theory.
Okay.
So I did my grades, music grade 1, grade 2, grade 3, grade 4, with a very lovely lady called Evelyn Hatfield, who I hope is still alive and kicking here in Carmo.
Yeah.
And Evelyn took me through my grades, and so I did those exams, and I learned a little bit more about theory, and then I made myself, every time I picked up the guitar, I made myself play things in major keys, and to learn more, and I've always been interested in trying to continue to develop, because you can see guys that don't. You know what I mean?
You can.
And I don't want to be one of those. I want to keep learning and developing and trying to improve, as I get better and become a better musician, So that's what I did, and it ended up. I took sort of like I was out of it for a couple of years, and then when I came back, it was very interesting. Actually, I did we did a show as part of what was then the Cowrie Festival at a pub called the Commercial Hotel in Dargaville, which had a lovely big dining room. And
where's the Commercial?
It's down in a place called Mangawari, which is where the old dairy factory used to be. It used to be the pub for the dairy factory workers, really, basically. And
I said dairy factory, I knew exactly where you were. Yeah.
And that was the first show I'd ever done sober in my life. And so,
wow.
I've actually got a photo of it on my wall in my studio. That's me playing sober for the first time. And so that was interesting. And then ever since then, it's been onward and upward, and like there's been a few times, because New Zealand's not quite you know, especially Northland, it's not quite so easy to connect with musicians and stuff like that. And so I've had a few bands and done quite a lot of musical projects and worked with quite a few people and done sort of this here and there and been in the odd band. But it's only in the last few years. I actually was in a duo with a guy, and we went around doing a lot of acoustic stuff, and then and then we went to record a CD. Yeah. And the drummer we got, that kind of clicked, and I ended up in a band called Rust, which toured around Northland, which was quite a good band. Dan Collett was a sort of singer and songwriter, and Dan writes a good song, you know, and so we had quite a good show that we took on the road around Northland and played quite a bit of stuff. And then I produced an album for them because I got my own studio at home and stuff like that. And I produced the odd little things here and there. Yeah, sure. And then that kind of didn't work out. Like, you know, without sort of disparaging anyone or, you know, just band stuff. There was a bit of a disagreement about like what we should be doing for our next album, and I had some stuff written. Yeah. So I took that stuff I'd written and thought, I'm just going to do this stuff myself. And that's what, like I was talking to you about before.
We were talking about before. Yeah.
And that's how I got. That's how I've ended up in Road Dog. You know, like because what happened was, I started working. I've got a friend who's a very good drummer called Dave Morello. He's a Canadian guy that lives in Auckland, and he's like Tama drums and Dorsey.
Tama and Peisty,
Peisty cymbals. And Dave's a monster player, and he's a really good guy too. He's a great, fun-loving, easygoing professional, but easygoing and lots of fun to work with. And him and I had done various things over the years, and always had a lot of fun. And so I got asked Dave if he'd come and do the sessions, and then my singing teacher was Caitlin Smith. So I asked Caitlin, do you know any good bass players? And she said, the guy in my band's a good player. He'll come and do some sessions for you. So Aaron came on board to do the bass, and I think Aaron had heard of Dave. So we got together and started working on the songs, and it sort of we sort of clicked quite well, and everyone quite liked it. And at the same time, sort of things weren't working out for Dave's band, so he sort of said, look, we should just put a band together around this.
Yeah, like make it a permanent thing.
And that's how it worked out. So I ended up with these two awesome players, Aaron Codell and Dave Morello, and we've just been as happy as Larry as a three-piece. It was just pre-COVID, you know, so we've been together for a while. We've put a show together. We've recorded an EP. We're doing a show in Devonport on the 17th of September that Epic Breweries has got behind, and Epic are going to sponsor that. So we were chuffed about that. So things have worked out great. So it's only taken me like 35 years to finally get.
Sometimes it takes a while to find the quality players that you connect with, right?
Yeah, well, I think there's always been those times over the years where you got those good little purple patches, but it's really like, I mean, I don't know, and I sort of like it's so. It's a strange world, and I think like it's strangely enough, if I'd had any kind of success like that turned into money earlier in my career, I don't think I would have survived it. Right. Maybe it is good that it's taken me all this time to get to a place where I'm like now. I think I'm a success just because I get to play with Dave and Aaron. So, you know what I mean. That's really for me all I need. So
success isn't always measured by money, though, right? It's measured by enjoyment and satisfaction. Personal enjoyment as well.
Yeah, that's like if if I walk out of rehearsals and I feel like a battery that's been charged up, and I know I just know in myself that's where you want to be. That's that feeling you want to have, when you leave rehearsals, you go like, yeah, that was awesome, and you do. It definitely is like it's sort of charging up, So
which is that's how it should be.
Yeah, absolutely. It's got to be, because it's the worst job in the world if it's not. Yeah. If you're not enjoying it, it's like don't do it.
Yeah. It's either one of those things. It's either really good or it's just absolute pants.
Yeah. And it can go to pants.
So very quickly. It goes.
It seldom goes reverse that way.
No, it doesn't go from shit to good in a great rate of knots.
No, but it can, it can go from great to shit really quickly. Yeah. But I'm very, like I say, I'm very fortunate with the boys. We're all the same age. we're all in our 50s, and
Yeah.
and we've all had sort of similar experiences.
World weary.
Yeah, and so, and we have a lot, and Dave and Aaron are very different people as well. Dave's very enthusiastic, and Aaron's slightly more quiet and thoughtful, and,
Yeah.
and they make a great team, and it's a lot of fun putting songs together with them, and because I'll go in with like raw lyrics and some chord progression and some ideas, and then man, these guys know how to put a song together.
So, is Road Dog really sort of driven by you, or does it sort of, or do you go, hey guys, I'm going to bring this to the table, and then everyone kind of sort of fleshes it out? What's the process for you guys?
When I originally came in, I had the songs because they were the songs that we were going to
From the
record,
album, yeah, yeah.
and so we put those songs together, and then we added a couple more that I sort of had on the back burner, and that sort of became our original show. And then just over the last sort of winter, we've put about 4 more songs in the set that I've written, but I've written them more with the guys.
Right,
And the guys
okay,
are
yeah.
sort of, it's quite an open process. I don't tell the guys what to play.
Yeah.
I don't come in and say, you play this and you play that. I
Yeah.
love what they do, so I just say, here's the idea, and they come up with genius stuff. So it's a pretty open... I think that's why they like it too. There's no, I'm quite hands off. I'm not going to tell anyone what to do or try and control things too much.
Yeah.
It's got to be. And I actually, I was on the phone to Dave this afternoon before I came over here, and we're talking about one of the new songs that's in the set, and I said, "Oh, you write some lyrics for that song because we're doing it, And he goes, oh, we haven't got much time. And I don't care, like just get it together.
Yep.
And I like to go on stage, not quite sure what's going to happen, but,
Yeah. Seat of your pants
and it'll
type
be
stuff.
fun,
Yeah.
and like it's got to, and we laughed about it. And that's to me, that's what it's kind of got to be like. I don't want it too rehearsed or...
Polished.
Yeah, no, and
I mean, you're not a boy band.
No,
no.
that's right. And
Yeah,
we're not,
no.
the record companies aren't beating a path to our door because we're 17,
Yeah, well, yeah.
So, and we look great. So it's got to be fun. And like, it is fun,
Yeah.
That's the most fun for me if I walk out and you're just not quite sure what's going to happen. But whatever it is, it's going to be fun. And it's, who cares? You drop a note, it's not, it's not the end of the world.
Not the end of the world. I just want to talk about the 2 essentially different careers you've had, because you've had your time over in Australia and then you've had your time here. Talk to me about the differences between fun. Because I don't imagine Australia would have been the hard grind. That would have been fun in a different way. But how has your perspective of fun changed?
Yeah, well, it's interesting. I think at my age, your motivations are very different from what they are at kind of 25.
Yes.
And I've got a house now, and I've got a beautiful wife and a decent car and dog and all that sort of stuff, and like
life is good and sorted.
Yeah, but and I don't mean that in like a facetious way. I mean all the
No,
all those
no,
things
not at all.
that you think when you're young that you want to get. I was never really sure I was going to get kind of that out of rock and roll anyway.
Right.
And kind of fun was just going out and partying and playing without too much clear idea of where I was even going or what I was doing. But see, it's different for me now too, because in the last few years I've got into songwriting, and that's sort of changed things a little bit as well. Whereas it's sort of partly about the songs now. I'll put my hand up straight away and say I'm not the greatest singer in the world.
Yeah.
But in a way, I don't. In a way, I think as long as you deliver the story of what the feel of what you're trying to get across, then people buy into that, and you don't have to be the greatest. And, all you have to do is show them that you're there to give them 100%, and they'll buy into your...
Yeah. I think, obviously we were sort of talking before about how when COVID hit and you had this wonderful little run of shows, you know, now that we're sort of starting to get back into the swing of things with, like, bands are starting to do a little bit of touring, you know, locally we're starting to see bands open up as well. Do you think for you that now that we've had COVID, you've developed this focus more on songwriting and storytelling, that's going to allow you to connect better with people because you understand, well, you're here because you genuinely want to be.
Yeah. Well, actually, that's interesting because that's kind of the business model we're trying to follow too, is that, like, we want to attract people to come and see the band. We don't really want the band to be background music for some other promotion, you know? So that's an interesting sort of perspective. That for me now, the songwriting factor has sort of changed things in terms of, like, because I try, most of my songwriting is about people and about the interactions between people. Of course, my experiences, but also, you know, like, you know, how do you get through life, you know, and that's you know, and so I hope I try to write songs that are relatable, that people can relate to, you know, and stuff like that, you know, and that average people can relate to, and, you know, so but it's interesting just what you were saying before about the differences between here and Australia and stuff like that, because I got a quite a good start, like I say, the old Cascades Tavern back in the day. Good old Cascades. And a few other places. What I've found, and I don't mean this as a sort of harsh criticism of New Zealand, but what I've found here is a bit more of the old she'll be right attitude, which I find I prefer the make sure it's right. Attitude, and it's, you know, make sure you've got spares and backups, and like the show must go on.
Prepared.
So you've got professional, you know, like you turn up on time in a fit state to do what you're supposed to be there to do, and all those things. And I was very fortunate to have a couple of contacts with Tommy Emmanuel, the great
the great Tommy Emmanuel.
The great Tommy Emmanuel. And like he came and gave a talk to a group that I was a sort of like a little university course thing that I did out of Western Australian University, which was like a music management course thing, and then I was lucky enough to do another thing. I went and did a course with him actually in 2012. I went and did one of his courses in Australia and had a little bit of interaction over the years. No, I mean, he doesn't know who I am, but from talking to him and from what he says, I learned a lot from him about professionalism, you know, how to go about being professional in the business. And
conducting yourself.
Because no one comes along and tells you, you are here. This is where you are on the...
on the totem pole.
That's right. And so you have to kind of make your own place, you know. You have to make a place for yourself. And I think, like, I'm a bit of a believer in setting standards. You know, you've got to have a standard, and that's one of the things over there. If you didn't have a show, if you weren't up to it, you didn't work, because there were so many other bands that would just come in and see you later, man. If you weren't there on time, you weren't there next week. You know, and
that you got at that level of professionalism.
Yeah, that's right. And unless you're there and you have a good attitude and you can talk to the sound guy without being an arse, or you can talk to the bar people and you can talk to the management and conduct business and have it together, then you just fucking get blown away, you know. And and I'm not saying that happens here, but that's where I learned. And what I've found here is there's a little bit of it's kind of like a party vibe. You've got the gig going on, and it's a bit of a party vibe, and it's like, no, hang on, man, you know, there's some things that shouldn't be happening here. That you know,
we conduct ourselves in a professional manner.
That's
We're
right.
here to entertain you. But we're also here to make sure that business is taken care of.
Yeah, that's right. We're here to do a job, you know, and at the end of the day, you know, your job is to entertain people, and you know, and that's, you know, some people don't like that, but some people want, you know, some people are there because these songs are the greatest songs of mankind needs them, you know, and like, I've had people actually say that to me, you know, mankind needs my songs. fuck me.
Yeah, who doesn't love a self-aggrandizing artist? My God, like the world needs
it's
more
like,
of them.
Fuck, I'm like from the school of if you get you a shot, be grateful and fucking grab it with both hands. Do your very fucking best,
Yeah.
I just, and that's just where I come from. And keep it real, man. There's that many guys out there that are friggin' really good players, and you got to keep it real and just go out and do your job. Give it 100%. And you'll get there,
So I grew up with Spice Girls and Backstreet Boys at primary school. So
yes,
I have such a good childhood of music.
Boy band and girl band era. So amazing. Yeah. So primary school's really good. Intermediate, okay.
Yeah. That was I think that was a turning point though. I never really I really struggled because of all the bad stuff happening in my life. I really struggled with reading, writing, telling time.
Okay, yeah, sure.
I didn't know actually how to do any schoolwork until I was in intermediate.
Yeah.
So that's when I started I learned how to tell the time. I started reading. So I learned really late in life, but I never ever let anyone know that.
Yeah.
I didn't. Yeah, I was very good at hiding that stuff. I was just very, very good with my hands and creative stuff.
Yeah.
And so I would always, move into the artwork and really kind of do really well at that. And sports, I'm really sporty.
Oh, good.
Yeah, I did a really horrible job at bartending. But when I saw the performances on stage, I was like, oh, I can definitely do that.
Yeah.
I can definitely do that. And then I said to Megan, do you guys take anyone else on? And she's like, oh, yeah, we've got some auditions coming up. And so I spoke to so one of my friends, Vincent, gosh, he's so inspiring. He's been such a solid mentor or somebody that I really look up to, and he really helped me with performing, and so he said to me you have to audition, do it, and girl, sing this song. So he was and he played Speechless by Beyonce, and he's like, can you just learn this song? And I was I really connected with it. I was like, oh yeah, okay, all right. So I went away and learned it, and I caught up with another friend, Winnie, who he was also friends with, and I said, can you play the guitar to this, the electric guitar? He's like, yeah, shit, yeah, I could do that. And so we both went in, we practiced it, and then we both went in and we auditioned, and their faces after the audition, they were
yeah,
it was so funny, and I was like, you right?
Yeah. What's the feedback here?
Yeah.
Do you have some notes?
And one of the girls on the Charlie, she looked at me. She's like, "Are you lip syncing that, or is it just a track played?" And I was like, "I sang it." And Megan's like, "She sang it." So it was real funny moment. And they're like, "Yeah, do that on stage."
Yeah.
So, yeah. And that was the very first song that I ever sang on stage, was Beyonce Speechless. Yeah.
So you after the jaw-dropping performance that you give for your audition, where everyone's like, wow, she actually did all of that.
Yeah.
You're in. And you're often running from that point onwards.
Yeah.
And where does that journey take you? Because your bio lists so many other things that you've kind of done along the way, and you've picked up so much.
Yeah. There's been times where I'm like, I don't even know how I'm doing this. This is all just so much. I'm doing so much right now. I'm so busy. But I did the first show with the Northern Dolls Burlesque Cabaret.
Yeah.
And I met it was just like a family. I'd never met a group of people that I connected with so much.
That's cool.
They just felt like it was. Yeah, I'm so lucky to have even met them, and So Nicole was she was very like with the structure of things. She was like our main burlesque like classic feather fans, and
yes,
she always blows my mind. And now she's blooming pole dancing, and she's like got these guns that'll like shoot you like dead. It's put those guns away, Nicole, like you're just gonna kill somebody with those. She's so amazing. I'm like I don't think she realizes how amazing she is, but yes, I'm just in awe of her every time she performs. And yeah, her art is just down to a T. But I also met Charlie, who was like a massive inspiration. I performed a lot of duos with her as well, and
cool.
She gave me a lot of confidence on stage.
Yep.
And she really helped me step onto the stage. And yeah, just like she always fills people's cups. If you're feeling even slightly down, she'll make sure that you're not feeling down. Like you're gonna feel amazing after like talking to me. And she does that. She's just absolutely amazing human. Sarah, like, oh my gosh, she's like the peak of confidence. She gives people confidence just by watching her perform. And she felt like family too. She's reminds me of my own family. And then we've got Kelly, who was like the mum of the group. She was like the comedian. She'd dress up as the old lady and like deliver all like those rude jokes that would make everybody laugh. And yeah, she was like our glue that stuck everyone together. But yeah, so I got to perform with them, and I learned so much. I met some amazing people along the way just by being in their group. And yeah, we did lots of performing, and we toured as well, Northland.
Oh wow!
And
that's cool.
Yeah, it was
very cool.
It was amazing. It was just epic. So I was finally able to put what all my because my one thing that has really like started as a young age was my imagination. My imagination is very vivid.
Yep.
And that's how I create things, and that's how I found out that I could do that. And the Northern Dolls, that's what they taught me that. So anything I imagined, I could put it there.
You can make happen.
Yeah.
Yep.
On stage. And then so we would have themes and stuff, and so we'd go off the theme and be like, okay, let's create this.
Wicked.
And our coolest one I remember was Gladys is her name. That's Kelly's character on stage.
The alter ego?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so the story it was called The Little Black Book. And so her husband dies, and she's going through all his stuff, and she opens up this chest, and it's got this book, and she opens it up, and it's got all these sexy ladies in it. And she's like, he's never told me about all these ladies.
Mm-hmm.
And so as she's flicking through them, it starts from the beginning of time. And so like I was the first one, I think I opened the show with Beyonce Baby Boy. It was
oh wow.
So I was doing an Egyptian act where I used these big isis swings, burlesque, belly dancing with all these chains on. And so it goes through all of the years that he meets these people, and you've got comedy acts, and you've got burlesque performers and singers, and so our photo would come up she's looking at them in the book.
Yeah, and the photo's on there, so people can
actually
see the photo, and then there's the dance that's sort of representing the photo.
Yeah.
That's wicked.
Yeah, it was really cool, and that's the one that we toured.
Yeah.
Such a cool show. Really proud of that one with those girls. But and then one day Kelly had a costume shop as well, which was it's like a movie scene, but she would give us costumes, what we'd need for stage. And so she was just around the corner from the Whangarei Theatre Company, and she said, have you ever thought of doing a musical, because you can sing and you can dance, and they've got Chicago's coming out.
Makes sense, right?
Yeah. She was like, Chicago, they're doing Chicago and the movie. And I was like, oh yeah. She's like, oh, you should definitely go and audition. So I was just going with it. I was a yes man.
Right, yeah.
I was like, yeah, let's do it. Yeah, all right, fine. And so I went, didn't know what I was doing. I just learnt all that jazz, went in, never acted properly. I'd done advertisements and things like that. So I'd done background acting and things, and on set for Glassons and stuff. But I never never done some real proper acting.
Yeah.
And so I went in. It was all these people at this table, like all these judges and stuff, and I walked in and I did the audition, and I could actually feel like what they were feeling behind after I finished singing and that, and they were like, all right, we're going to give you a call back and let you know how it goes. And I'm sure, like, I was like, I can see what you like. So Granty was behind there. Grant Smith, love him. He was the director for Chicago. I want to be his child. He's so amazing.
Yeah. It's like, Grant, can you just adopt me?
Yeah, can you just adopt me, Grant?
Yeah.
And so I left, and then they called me. Alison called me, and she was like, "Oh, so you've we just wanted to congratulate you. We've selected you for the lead role of Chicago."
Is that Roxy?
No, Velma Kelly.
Wow.
Yeah, and I was like, "Oh, who's that?" I was like, "Who's Velma?" And she was like, the lead role. And I was like, "Is that the Catherine Zeta-Jones part?" And she's like, yes it is. I didn't know musicals. I'd never done like performing arts or anything like that. And so at that point I'm like thinking, oh God, she must be like, do we really want this person? She doesn't even know who the lead roles are.
Sorry, I cried. You know, the only way it could have gone worse. Velma, isn't she in Scooby-Doo?
Am I going for the right show? But yeah, that was really intense. I had no idea what nervousness was until I did a show like that. But yeah, Granty was he was so amazing. Like I could see like how like happy he was, and so passionate. So it really kind of rubbed off on.
It inspires you, eh? And you always just want to give that little bit more.
Yeah. And so that's what I did. I gave 150% in that show. I just gave everything. That was amazing. It was a sellout show. We couldn't put any more shows on because I think we did the max amount. I think it was 12, and we sold out all of them. And yeah, I think Debbie's been on here.
She has, Debbie Walters-Brown. Yeah, yep, she's amazing. Yeah,
she was in Cell Block Tango with me as well.
Oh, brilliant.
She's amazing person.
She is.
Yeah, really, really talented. And so it was really cool to meet those talented people on there. And oh man, I had no idea. Like I was like, wow, I don't even know. I have no idea what the heck I'm getting myself into.
Yeah.
But yeah, it made me step up. Like it really made me like just. So I was here like thinking I was doing really pretty good. I was doing really well with the girls, but then when it opened me up to acting and like how serious and structured everything was, I was like boom. And then you've got like you meet all these vocal coaches who are like, no, da da da. It's I understand you. I speak your language.
Yeah. It's a discipline, right?
Yeah. So I learned heaps about singing. It really opened everything up, and my projection was able to finally open up.
Yeah.
And so I found out that I was more of a powerhouse singer than I was, just the quiet singer, with all the like agility and stuff. It was pretty mind-blowing.
Well, now it's interesting that we end up on singing. Very rarely, in fact, never, do I bring out my cell phone. And the reason I wanted to is because you emailed Northland Artists Conversation again today, just after lunch. And I think this is important because by the time this podcast goes out, your new song will be out on all the platforms. Now, you sent us a link, which was amazing, DistroKid link, and I had a listen to it, and it's wicked.
Cool, yay.
It is so cool. Yes, because my validation makes your life more complete now. You're welcome.
It does. I'm like, I love it when people they like my music because it means like I'm not delusional.
No, like it's seriously really good. It's got such an amazing dance vibe to it, and I'm very curious to know with all of the things that you've kind of learned along the way, and then recently with the acting coaches and the vocal coaches and things like that. What are you? I ask you this: what are you going to do with this career?
I don't know.
Okay.
No, so like because it always keeps coming back to my singing. Like I've worked in lots of different places. It always comes back to me, like performing. I've always end up doing this. Like it's, so yeah, and like also like going through lots of stuff, like growing up with my dad and that, he used to write, like he wrote music too.
Oh, wow.
And,
Okay.
he was part of a band like my whole life.
Yeah.
Like lots of different bands. He even did an album at one point, and so like it just, I felt like he really kind of got that talent from him of like just connecting with music.
Yeah.
And what I didn't realize is that so I had to go through like quite a lot, a big healing process with like my past. So like it kind of came back, and you've got to go through it all again.
Yeah.
And so I did like a huge healing session in my I think it took 2 years of seeing someone.
Yeah, you go through the adversity.
Yeah.
Then you get through the other side of it, and then it comes back a few years later.
Yeah.
With the help of someone. Some people need that. That's fine. You can then move through that, and there's healing and forgiveness and all that.
Yeah.
I think the interesting thing for me, and I don't know if you've seen it, but you have essentially gone and 180'd everything. And it's an interesting thing to say. The reason I say it is music for you was your escape. You're a way to get out of what was going on in your life. And you move through life later on, and you get to a point where you can heal and you can move forward from it. And it almost seems like you go, I can do that for someone else. I can be that influence.
Yeah.
So you're giving back.
Yeah. So in that time, so after all the theatre shows and stuff like that, I ended up going through that time where I had to really revisit all that because it actually it forced itself back into my life. So I had to deal with that. So it took 2 years, and in that time, I realised I could connect. So I ended up using music as a way of like venting.
Yes.
So
certainly done that.
yeah. So I started writing so I would connect to music and then start writing what I was feeling. So whatever that song was making me feel, I would add those words and just make a story. And so I just would write all the time just to kind of get myself through that time. And I think there was like a time where I was really, really low, and I just didn't see any way out. I couldn't see, like, it was quite dark. And so like I was in my house by myself, and I was listening to this this track. It was a beat, like a producer had made this beat, and it was just random. It was like it came up out of the blue on my phone, and so like I was in tears because I just didn't know what the heck I was going to do. And I think my daughter was with my mum at that stage because I was going through quite a dark time. And I played this track, and I was like, it was water, like it just sounded like water.
Okay.
And I was like, far out, that's cool. And it's got a tune to it. And then the beat hit, the beat dropped, and then I could hear these kids in it singing Eeyore. It was like this kids choir.
Yeah.
I didn't know it at the time, but Eeyore is actually Māori for God.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
I later found that a few years out later down the track.
Right.
So I was like, okay. So, and then all of a sudden I just started writing these. I was like, far, okay. So this is, I can hear myself singing. I can hear it in this, and I can hear, yep, that goes up, and then here's the chorus, and started writing it all down. And it was a message, like I thought I was writing to my daughter.
Okay, yeah.
And I could hear like these kids. And so it was like, you are my dun, dun. It was like you are my sunshine, my only sunshine.
Yeah.
It was like along like those lyrics, but it was like I always love you. And it was crazy. But so like I went I was in my room and I had these headphones. It was pitch black and there was like a little red light on my headphones.
Oh, so yeah, okay.
And so like right when that happened, like I was crying in the dark, and then like so it was pitch black, and I had a pen and paper just sitting next to me. Like I always did that. Always have a pen and paper next to my bed in case I need to write something down. Like lyrics always come to me at nighttime, 1 o'clock usually in the morning, and that's when I wrote that song that's coming out. I wrote that at 1 o'clock in the morning, and it was like it was 10 minutes. Took me 10 minutes to write that one. But I was sitting in the middle of it was in the dark, and I played this song, and like it was weird. Like I just felt this huge heat come over me. It was like this warmth. Yeah. And then like this little red light had completely lit up the whole room, and I could see everything. And so like I had this pen and paper that I could see, and I was like, I'm in the pitch black, but I can see this. Yeah. And so I started writing all of these lyrics, and I wrote it down in 10 minutes.
Wow.
And I was like, holy shit. And then it was like two or 3 years later, I found out that what the kids I had written down for the kids to be singing was God. It's E-O-E-O-E-O, E-O-E-O-E-O. Like
That's
it was
unreal.
It's such a cool song, but like I've never actually I haven't recorded it probably because I need those kids to sing that. Everything has to be like structured in the song. Or it's just not worth doing. And then like when I reread those lyrics back, it's like God talking to someone, and I'm not religious at all. Like I don't, and for that, that was like a turning point for me. Like pick yourself up. You love someone, like you've got something to live for. Yeah. And that was when I started writing. Yeah. Wow. And I was like, these kids, and I think at the time we were having a lot of deaths from like on the news of children dying and being murdered. And it was really hard to watch. And so that was kind of like a dedication, that song. Yeah.
Now, the new song's called Evil Game.
Very different flip.
Very, very, very clever there on the wordplay. Where are people going to be able to listen to it?
So Spotify.
Yes.
I think it's iTunes.
Okay.
All of the platforms. I think I haven't checked if it's going onto SoundCloud, which my sister wanted me to put it onto. But yeah, it's so. Like that was another hard thing, was trying to figure out how the process goes.
DistroKid are great for that.
Yeah.
They really are. You just go, here's a song, they go, thank you very much, and then they go off it goes too.
Yeah.
Really good like that.
Yeah, so I just kind of contacted other artists and said, how did you do this? And so they just get back with me like on their recommendations. So I thought I'll just try it. Like I'll just put it out there and get it finally out there. And I ended up sending it to I won't mention any names, but I sent it to my friend, and he ended up sharing it with someone from Fat Freddy's last night, and he was like, who is this? How did they do this? Like, and I was like, what? I'm like, what is this? Is this actually happening? And he really likes it. This is so weird. But yeah, and he only had the snippet.
Dare I say it, the Fat Freddy's validation's probably worth more than mine.
I love Fat
That's
Freddy's.
Okay. Don't you dare laugh, producer Andrew.
I try and make it to every concert.
Look, that is super cool that you've been able to turn something that was negative into such a massive positive. Because during dark times, sometimes it can be really hard to flip it around and have that moment. It's music
for me. That's what gets me out. Yeah,
that's it. It's always been music. It turns out. Well, there you go, everyone. Third week down. Amazing. Just some really cool stories, some cool little snippets and tidbits of some of the different talented people that we've got in Northland that are musicians, and just some of their work that they've done, some of their stories, and them sort of sharing their time in the creative segment. So I'm going to go to my camera now. So if you would like to reach out to us, this being the third week, I'm genuinely happy and amazed at the amount of support that we have had from the local community surrounding these podcasts. It's third week. First week was amazing. Second week is just getting better. So thank you so much for everyone that's sort of messaging us and saying, hey, good stuff. Please keep it up. Really appreciate the support. It's amazing. So where can you find out more of our podcasts or the full podcasts of our guests? Well, for visual, you can find them on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. That's the visuals. For the audio, you can go to Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or YouTube podcasts. Thank you very much. And if you want to do things super easy, just open an internet browser. Edge is an internet browser. I think Opera, Google, yeah. And just type in Northland Artists Conversation. You will find us there, and then just consume the content however you would normally. And if you would like to be on the show, whether you're an artist of any sort or a musician, man, we'd love to have you. And if you've been on before, but you're like, yeah, I had a cool time. These guys aren't dicks. And I've got some cool stuff coming up. Please reach out to us. Email us, hello@northlandartistsconversation.co.nz, or just message us through social media, the platforms, and someone will get back in touch with you, which is very cool. So back to the wide camera. Yeah, man, it's hard to believe that this is week 3 and the support has just been amazing. So thank you so much, everyone, for choosing to consume these celebrations of New Zealand Music Month and the wonderful musicians we have in Whangarei. So on behalf of myself, editor Lee J, producer Andrew, and engineer Steve, thank you so much for checking out this celebratory podcast. Third week, highlighting the amazing musicians we have for New Zealand Music Month. My name is Mark Kelly. Thank you for joining us on the Northland Artists Conversation. We'll see you guys real soon.